Hello there, and thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Economic Briefcase right here on Camnet TV. My name is Josh Mata, and of course, today we do have our guest, and it being a week that is filled with events, we do have a woman representing the women this particular episode. Now, my guest this particular time is Kenel Mwizukanji Namwawa, the Executive Director for Push Women Network. Kenel, good to see you and welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me.
Okay. Now, getting into it, Kenel, can you kindly tell us, for those that are watching us for the first time, your inspiration behind founding Push Women Network?
Yes, that's a good way to open up the show. As you rightly indicated, I'm the Executive Director of the organization that I founded in 2014.
Okay.
And initially it was created as a fellowship. I wanted to create a safe space for women to come together, interact, build each other, dispel the notion that women are not able to support each other. And we were doing quite a number of things, philanthropic things within the community. And this evolved into a vision that I had to create a bigger platform for us to gain more visibility in terms of just the work that we're doing within the women's movement. And so that's what led us to a number of projects that probably I will speak about as we progress with this discussion. But really, the Push Women Network is also a Christian-based organization, and PUSH itself is an acronym for Pray Until Something Happens. Okay. So that's the Christian foundation that we build on everything else that we do as an organization.
Okay. Now, Kenel, for those that are watching right now, maybe let me find out from you, what motivated you to initiate, for instance, the Lusaka Business Expo Summit under the Push Women Network?
Right. So you see, we are an empowerment organization, and then also realizing that the discussion or the work around women empowerment is broad, and you have to have a focus, for you to have any sort of meaningful impact. So our niche is to focus on the emancipation of the female economy, advocating for female financial independence, because when women are independent, they have access to other forms of empowerment, such as social, political, economic empowerment, digital, all those things. But the cornerstone of what we aim to achieve is to ensure that women are financially independent. And in doing that, we realize that, this country is largely driven by the SME sector, and upwards of 60% of this sector is female-led. So we need to support women in business. We need to ensure that they grow. We need to give them the tools and the skills to ensure that they are not left behind, even as the world evolves towards digitalization and climate smart businesses, etc. So this is what gave birth to the Lusaka Business Expo. And this platform has allowed us to also invite other stakeholders on the platform, government being a key partner of the event, realizing that when we're talking about women in business, we're not just talking about women, we're talking about this huge, broader ecosystem of other stakeholders that need to be brought into the fore.
Okay. Now, Kenel, since its inception, let me find out from 2021, how has the Business Expo evolved?
Yeah. So that's when we hosted the first one. And if you recall, 2021 was in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis. And that's when we launched this project.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, we were still able to have a very large exhibition event at East Park Mall. Obviously, at that time, adhering to all the health parameters that were set by MOH, Ministry of Health. And we also had a virtual business discussion forum. So the focus at the time was to, on the showcase, the exhibition event, have plethora of different businesses from both the private and public sector coming to showcase their goods and their services for the public to come and interact with their products and interact with the personnel as well. And that was the focus at the time.
Okay.
So now fast forward to this fourth event that we're having.
2024.
The 2024 event happening on the 9th of May at Lungushi International Conference Center. The focus has shifted somewhat based on the feedback that we've gotten from participants and also just the need for ourselves as the visionaries to continue to challenge ourselves and to challenge the participants as well. So the focus for this year, in as much as we're having the showcase, is more on the dialogue, the networking opportunities that we're creating for our participants, opportunities for them to create partnerships, potentially even close deals. In a sense, sort of just uplifting the value of the platform itself for 2024. So we're having an indoor event in the large space at Mungushi International Conference Center in the KK wing, where we'll allow B2B meetings to be happening on the sidelines of the event and B2Gs as well, panel discussions, keynote speeches, take breakaway sessions as well, all of them prearranged so that our participants can tell us in advance, I want to speak to this company, I want to have a side meeting with this company, and then we're able to facilitate that, track the progress, and record any deals that would emanate from those kinds of discussions as well.
Okay, so this will run from what time to what time? Okay.
So this event, as I indicated, on the 9th of May, is going to run from 8 hours in the morning all the way up until 17 hours.
Okay.
Right.
Now, I was having a conversation with my producers, and they told me that you've chosen navigating carbon markets and tech solutions to climate smart business as this year's theme. Why did you choose this particular theme, Ken?
Yeah, we always aim to pick themes which are relevant and speak to what is currently prevailing on the ground. So as you said, this year's theme is navigating carbon markets and tech solutions for climate smart businesses. And as you may be aware, the conversation on carbon markets and carbon investments is relatively, a growing subject within the business sector in this country. And we're using this platform to sort of just create awareness around this issue. And then also just talking about the benefits that businesses could have from investing in carbon markets, such as reduction in greenhouse gases, carbon emissions, so that they're able to gain carbon credits and trade in the carbon credit markets. And obviously, because we may not necessarily be the technical experts in this field, we invite folks from, for instance, Security Exchange Commission, the Bank of Zambia, to come and speak about the regulatory framework around this subject, to create awareness for businesses to know that, okay, if we reduce our carbon emissions, we engage in greener, cleaner businesses, we're able to gain carbon credits, engage in carbon investments, and ultimately lift the profit portfolio of our businesses, So you're not just thinking in a narrow and straight-jacketed type of way in terms of your income streams, even as a business. And then obviously, the tech aspect, I spoke about COVID, and how you recall it accelerated digitalization in the country, and recognizing that businesses also need to upscale, they need to go digital. And I spoke about the fact that a lot of the SME businesses in this country are female-led. We need to ensure that, okay, how do they upskill? How do we ensure that they go digital? How do we ensure that we give them the tools, the know-how, and the expertise to equip them to engage in cleaner, greener, and smarter businesses? So that's why we are talking about carbon investments, carbon markets, and tying that to climate smart businesses as well.
Okay. Now, Ken, for a woman that is listening or watching out there, or for a man that would like to support their women out there, what business advancements do you promise during this particular expo? How is it going to advance women businesses out there?
Okay, so what we have been doing from the time we started this expo project is supporting a large number of female-led businesses. Okay, so these businesses come from across the country, from Luapula to Southern Province to Mchinga and everything else in between. And we do this because we have partnerships with Zambia Development Agency, the Ministry of SME Development itself, and also organizations, reputable organizations such as MSICA, who are avidly involved in the agri sector. And they're able to identify SMEs within their databases, which are female-led, which will then be pulled into the event itself. And these would then come under the sponsorship and the umbrella of the Push Women Network. That is, they're not required to give any kind of financial contribution for their participation. And we then pull them in and help to expose them to larger markets, potentially opportunities for access to affordable finance, access to training in business development, you know, just opportunities for them to be able to have exposure and grow their businesses. So that is the opportunity that is there for businesses participating in this platform. Obviously, from a larger corporate standpoint, these are clients, you know. The SME sector is clients to people in the banking sector, you know, people who are supporting SMEs, you know, they're clients for government through the Ministry of SME Development. So we are basically creating these synergies for growth, understanding that we are all in this ecosystem and we all need each other. And it's not always possible for these businesses to have access to, you know, policymakers and decision makers in government and in private sector. But through the expo, we're able to create a larger-than-life meeting space where we're able to cross-pollinate in ways that it is not always possible to do so in a day.
Okay. Now, Kenel, for those that are watching and they're thinking, what are some of the topics or discussions that attendees of this particular expo should expect as they come to the expo?
Right, and remember I said that, you know, the expo event has always been skewed towards supporting the SME sector, and then also kind of just pulling different stakeholders who are in a position to create policy, to create regulations within their organizations, and then within, you know, even at national level, to listen to some of the challenges that businesses is experiencing, and then even just allow businesses to find solutions to some of those challenges and find opportunities even in the midst of crisis. So for this year's event, the conversations are really tailored towards how can business find opportunities even in crisis. And this is very timely if you just kind of look at what our country is going through in as far as the power deficit,
the drought,
challenges on the food production. Yes, those are challenges, but you know, we are business players. How do we find solutions in the crisis? How do we ensure that we're able to navigate this by solving the problem, as opposed to just you know, complaining about the problem? So the topics are really going to be skewed around problem solving in the midst of the crisis.
Okay. Now, Kenel, obviously we have seen many expos coming through in the country, including this year. There are many expos coming. But let me find out from you, what distinguishes the Lusaka Business Expo Summit from other events that we've had or that we continue to have in the country?
Yeah. So I'll take it back to 2021. When we started our event in 2021, there were not so many expos. Okay. But then over the years leading up to present time, we have seen a huge mushrooming of expos. And the question that has always arisen is, well, why should we participate in the Lusaka Business Expo Summit? What distinguishes it, as you've asked, from other similar platforms? I would go so far as to say that there is no platform that is similar to what we are doing.
Okay.
Why? Because ours is more than just an event. It is something that is curated to ensure that we create impact. And we continue the discussions with different partners throughout the year, tracking their progress, tracking what they are building and developing as a result of what they've been able to broker during the Expo platform. And like I indicated, for this year, we've rebranded it somewhat based on the feedback from our different partners. And that's why this year we're calling it the Expo Summit, to distinguish it from what we've done in the past, in the sense that we are focusing on dialogue, we're focusing on communication, we're focusing on coming up with solutions in every area, in every endeavor of business. What solutions can we come up with? What kind of innovations can we come up with to overcome the challenges that we are facing within the business sector? If there's a power deficit, well, what other solutions can I come up with to ensure that I mitigate the challenges that business are facing? And how do I turn that idea into something that creates capital for me? How do I capitalize on that opportunity? So that is the difference with our event. It's not just about, us showcasing our different products and services. It's about how are we doing that in a way that demonstrates our understanding, one, of the theme, and then how are we as a business finding opportunities and creating solutions in the midst of the crisis.
Okay. Now, obviously, that brings me to my next question. How do you believe climate smart business practices can benefit, for instance, both the environment and the economy?
That's such a trending conversation right now, and something that it cuts across private and the public sectors. Environmental degradation, even the climate crisis or the big weather event that we are currently facing is to do with the fact that we have been engaged in practices that are far less than being climate smart, and ultimately we are reaping the adverse effects of our practices. So now we need to ensure that we go greener, we are smarter, because we care about our environment, we care about the future generations, and we need to engage in practices which are sustainable. We need to ensure that we safeguard our environment, and obviously that entails need to incorporate technology. We need to go digital, and also we need to engage in practices that reduce our carbon emissions. And then that also now speaks to the carbon markets, the carbon credits, and the carbon investments. All of this kind of just speaks to each other, that actually it's not just about being cleaner, but then it can also translate into some form of profit if I invest in carbon credits by virtue of me in my business reducing my emissions. So there's so many benefits to going greener, cleaner in our business practices. Ultimately and overall is the fact that we are actually taking care of our environment, making sure that we give the future generations a world that is better and safer than the way that we found it.
Okay. Now you have spoken about the benefits, obviously, and we're focusing on women. But let me find out from you, what role do you see women playing in driving innovation and sustainability in business, particularly in relation to climate change?
Right. So you know that I would 80% of businesses in the agri sector are led by women.
Okay.
It's women who are heading households. Women who are looking after our children and raising communities. They're the ones predominantly fixed into this type of business. And this is a business that, helps you and me to eat, to sustain ourselves, sustain our bodies and our nutritional requirements. Women are predominantly involved in ensuring that we are fed, we are looked after, and that we are raised into responsible human beings, why shouldn't we support them? The question kind of just answers itself, you know. So what we want to do through this platform is see businesses that are being run by women grow.
Okay.
If there is somebody who is selling tomatoes, for instance, in the market, as an SME, they should not be selling tomatoes for 10 years in the same stand. They should grow. There should be value addition. Okay? There should be opportunities to access bigger markets. There should be opportunities to access finance so that you grow your businesses. Okay? And then when these businesses grow, these women are able to take us to universities. You know, we have access to a better life by virtue of that foundation that we're building for these women and ultimately for the nation, for the country, this great country that we're fortunate to live in, Zambia. So definitely investing in women, I always say, is not an act of charity.
Okay.
It is something that ultimately will benefit all of us in one way or another. So I think that the benefits of supporting or investing in women are countless, and that's why as the Push Women Network through the platform of the Expo, we are very big on ensuring that we pull women on the platform, we give them exposure, we also ensure that they are exposed to upskilling and capacity building, so that even as we are investing in them, they have the necessary tools and the know-how to be able to grow their businesses, grow their money, grow their income, and become bigger, larger entities ultimately.
Okay. Now, having talked about women, let's talk about businesses. How can businesses, for instance, leverage carbon markets to become more environmentally sustainable and profitable?
Yeah. So you see, what I said is that we have technocrats who are going to come on the platform of the Expo to come and speak about, well, what is the benefit of this? In fact, maybe just to unpack it.
Okay.
And say, oh, what is it? Because there are some businesses who may not even know what carbon markets and what carbon investments might be. What are the benefits to me as a business in reducing my carbon emissions and ensuring that my business practices are greener and cleaner ultimately? How can I turn that into something that gives me profit and grows my business, gives me access to finance ultimately? And then, the bigger picture, like I said, is, well, what does it do for the environment? What are we handing over to the future generations of this country by ensuring that we are adhering to cleaner or greener ways of doing business in this country? So for business as a whole, this is something that goes without saying, that we need to ensure that we are greener and cleaner in our business practices.
Okay. Now, as we begin to wind up, Colonel, let me begin to find out from you, are there any specific partnerships or collaborations that have been instrumental in the success of this year's event?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, our partnerships are very strategic, and they have to align with our overall goal of ensuring that businesses are carried along. Sometimes conversations are had because they're trendy and they sound good, but ultimately, how does that impact the woman who is growing cashew nuts in Southern Province, for instance? How does that impact her? How do we ensure that we carry that person along, give them the tools, the machinery, the expertise to ensure that they're able to grow and have value addition in their business? So some of the partnerships that we have, like with Musika, help us to track the progress of these female-led businesses in the agri sector, and appreciate even what they are doing by giving them a voice in a room full of decision makers and policy makers who internalize and take stock of what they are saying and hopefully factor it into the particular decision-making cycles of their organizations. That's the impact that we're looking for. So government is a key stakeholder. This year, We are working with the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Okay.
We're working with the Ministry of SME Development, the Ministry of Science and Technology. We're also working with the Ministry of Green Economy. And the Ministry of Green Economy is taking a lead this year, obviously, because of the theme, because of the focus of the event. So the primary lead role will be taken up by the Ministry of Green Economy. And obviously, government is an important, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, stakeholder when we talk about business. So for us, it's very important that we get that nod and that support from government, and that support has been very consistent. So we're happy because it just shows that, okay, the platform is growing and the platform does have is creating some sort of impact. So in terms of other stakeholders, we are working with the banking sector as well, the financial sector, players within the agri sector as well, very important. Others who support the SME sector, such as Entrepreneurs Financial Center, EFC as well, are on board this event. And a whole lot of others. I don't want to mention them by name because I might miss, I might skip one. But I think in terms of just underscoring the importance of partnerships, I would just like to mention that we're very grateful for the support that we've gotten from all our partners, more so even government.
Okay. Now looking ahead, let's zero in on Push Women Network itself. Looking ahead, what are some of your hopes and inspirations for the future of the Push Women Network and obviously its initiatives?
Wow, we are hoping that through our initiatives, we would be able to see women who are financially secure, women who, because they have taken, the ability to be able to support and stand up for themselves, that would translate into us having more female voices in all sectors and in all rooms and places where decisions are made, because that female perspective is very important. And in as much as we are a women's movement, sometimes often the message can become a little bit confusing, that maybe we are trying to take over from the men, the men who are an equal stakeholder and a partner in this discussion on women empowerment. But really, it's about balance. That we need each other. That the scale somewhat needs to be balanced, and not because it's an issue of being charitable or feeling sorry for the women. No, but because your bottom line, even as a business, studies have shown that when you have more balanced boardrooms, more balanced organizations, the success of that particular organization will go up by up to 20%. Okay. So you have this other half of the population that needs to carry its weight and contribute. We shouldn't waste that human resource. We shouldn't waste that talent. We should be able to give everybody an opportunity to participate. So that is the ultimate vision and the ultimate goal of the Push Women Network moving forward. Okay.
Now lastly, Kenel, what message would you like to convey to individuals and organizations considering participating in the Lusaka Business Expo 2024? I'm sure they are watching right now.
Right. And I'll speak into this camera because now I'm not speaking to you now.
No, you're speaking to the camera.
To them. Right. So the 2024 Lusaka Business Expo Summit, happening on the 9th of May at the Mulungushi International Conference Center under the theme Navigating Carbon Markets and Tech Solutions for Climate Smart Business, is an exciting platform that calls together different stakeholders in the business environment, like I said, from the private and the public sector. And the intention really is to bring together, Zambia's brightest minds to come up with solutions even in the midst of crisis, and to just bring together all these different minds to ensure that we are growing the business sector, that we are finding opportunities in the challenges that we are faced with, and that we are allowing businesses to grow from, micro, small, medium, and potentially even larger corporate organizations. That is the aim and the intention of the Lusaka Business Expo Summit. And if you want to participate or you just want to find out more about the event, call or WhatsApp 0977 13 25 48, or you can email expo@pushwomennetwork.com, and we'll be more than happy to attend to you. Thank you so much for all the partners who are on board. We really appreciate each and every single one of you for making this happen consistently within 4 years. That is not easy. We appreciate your support and commitment in our endeavor to ensure that we bring about a more balanced society. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Keno, for coming through to the Economic Briefcase this evening.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, so there you have it, viewers. That's all we had for you on Economic Briefcase this particular evening. My guest was Keno Muzukanji Namwawa, talking about the Lusaka Business Expo. Join us next time for another exciting episode of Economic Briefcase. I have been your host, Joe Smarter is my name. On behalf of the entire production team, it's good evening and God bless.